Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we will talk about nutrition. So let's discuss about. So this is chapter 5 in the basics of human body subject. Okay. So the food that we take, that food is the source of nutrition. So why do we eat food? The food we consume for getting the
to get energy.
Nutrition out of it. And this nutrition gives us growth, energy, etc. Growth and energy, and probably repair of the body. All of that starting at the cellular level. For all of that, this is the requirement. So what are the main sources of the nutrition that we consume? Okay, the main nutrient groups. So they are, first one is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates. Second is protein. Third is fats. Fourth is vitamins. And fifth is, say, mineral salts, trace elements, and water. So these are the main group of nutrient groups that we consume. Okay. And say whatever we eat, it is not in the readily absorbable form by the body. You say you eat roti. So body doesn't require roti. Body requires the nutrition which is there in the roti, right? So that which is not in a absorbable form. The roti is not in an absorbable form. So the roti has to be converted into an absorbable form, which the body can absorb. Generally, the carbohydrates is broken down into what? Are broken down into
sugars.
Yes, glucose. Okay. And protein is broken down into
Amino acids.
Very good. So amino acids. And fats are broken down into
Fats converted into triglycerides.
Fatty acids.
Fatty acids.
Okay. So once it gets converted into these forms, then body will absorb and do other things, whatever it wants to do with that. Okay. So there are two types of nutrients. So it can be classified into kind of two groups. So essential and non-essential. So what is the meaning of this? So essential means, so body is like it is doing this division process and regrouping, all of those things it is doing. So essential nutrients are the nutrients which cannot be synthesized by the body. So which cannot be synthesized by the body. So you have to give that nutrient from outside, because the body cannot create it. Whereas non-essential is which can be synthesized by the body. Okay. Say for example, the essential is, let's say, dietary fiber. Say fiber, body cannot create the fiber, dietary fiber. So you have to consume the fiber from outside. Even though in terms of caloric value, it may not have much significance, but it has many other significance. No, in terms of moving the food through your alimentary canal. So to have a proper bowel movement, for all of those things, fiber is essential, but body cannot create those fiber. Okay. So non-essential are like many things, like your proteins, sugars, etc. Body can create these things by itself. So any food, like most of the food, have many of these dietary nutrient groups. Many foods has multiple nutrient groups. What does it mean? Say you eat roti. So the roti does not have only carbohydrates. Say for example, what is the meaning? Say you eat roti. So roti has, say, carbohydrates, say 90%. And it has, let's say, fat. By, say, 2%. So inherently, there may be a very tiny amount of fat in the roti. But if you add ghee, oil and eat, then it will have more percentage. Okay. And let's say it has some vitamins, say another 2% or say 3%. Okay. And it has, let's say, proteins. And it has, let's say, 5%. So in this way, all the foods, say, let's say now let's take sambar or dal. So in this, probably carbohydrates will be
less.
So let's say 50%. Okay, it is not accurate. I'm just giving some rough or random numbers just to make you understand. Say the amount of protein will be more than your roti. So it will be, let's say, 30%. And your fat, let's say 5%. And then vitamins, say another 10%. Okay. and others plus others. 15%. So now when you eat roti and dal, so it will segregate these carbohydrates. Carbohydrates from here and here, it will segregate and keep it somewhere, and it will segregate the fats, it will segregate the vitamins, it will segregate the proteins, and and keep it, and it will repurpose that. Say if I say carbohydrate 1, CH1 and CH2, and F1 and fat 2, V1 and vitamin 2, protein and protein 2. So what does the body do? Okay, when you eat both roti and dal together, so it will separate all of them. So it will have CH1 plus CH2, carbohydrate 1, and so it will keep in one place. So then it will have fat 1 plus fat 2. Then it will have protein 1 and protein 2. Then it will have vitamin 1 and vitamin 2. And it will have others too. Okay. So now it will, in a different ratio, it will create some other thing. Say carbohydrates 1 plus 2, it will use it for creating energy. Okay. Say energy, it will use, let's say 80% of it, it will use it for creating energy. And say protein 1 plus protein 2, okay, 80% of that, it will use it for creating, say, some hormones. Let's say hormones, it will use, let's say 30%, and to create new cells, so it will use another, let's say 60%, and to create some enzymes, it will use another 10%. Okay. So in this way, whatever food that we are taking, so first it segregates them into its independent nutrient group, and then all the nutrient groups are combined, and then that it is in different ratios are repurposed to create different parts of the human body and the energy for the human body's functioning. So is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So no food contains all the nutrient groups in the required proportion. So there is no such thing as if you just eat that one food, you will get everything which is required for the body. There is no such thing. So different foods will have it in different proportions. Some will have something in more, and something will have less in something. But there is exception to this. There is one thing which has all the nutrients required in the right proportion. What is that? What is that?
Milk.
Yes. Except mother's milk. So you understand how important feeding the child is. Mother's milk. It has all the nutrients which is required for the baby and in the right proportion. So it is a complete food. Sir? Which the nature has created customized for the child. Okay, out of in the entire existence, that one food is tailor made for the child, and no other food is tailor made in the entire world. Okay. So next we will try to understand each one of them. So we will take up carbohydrates. So mainly these are what? Mainly these are sugars and starches. Say any of these things which gives a sweet taste in the mouth. Say you take a grain of rice and keep it in your mouth for some time. So what will you feel? You will feel little sweet, right? If you take a grain of wheat and keep it in mouth for some time, so you will feel sweet taste. So basically they are sugars and starches. And it is available in many different types of food. Okay. So available in many forms. Example are your rice, you have carbohydrates, your wheat, or say I would say roti, you have carbohydrates, your cereals, different forms of cereals, your corn, your millets, all of these different kinds of cereals. It has your fruits has carbohydrates, your vegetables has carbohydrates. So anything which has sweet taste to it. Say you eat little carrot. So how does it taste? It tastes bitter or sweet?
Sweet.
It tastes sweet. So it means that it has some carbohydrates in it. Okay. So these are some of the examples of the carbohydrates. And these sugars, they are classified according to the complexities. So there are different types of sugars. So they are classified according to the complexities of the chemical units. Which form them. Okay, so what are the classifications? So the first one is
Glucose.
monosaccharides. Okay. So, and another example, example of that glucose is, example of the monosaccharide is glucose. Okay. So monosaccharides are, what are they? They are single sugar unit. And example is glucose. Okay. Mono means single, one unit of sugar. Okay. Yes, most of the things have some amount of carbohydrates. Okay, so the second division is disaccharides. Di means two. Okay, so they are two sugar units. So which join together. And the example for that is sucrose. So 2 units of sugar is called as disaccharides. So the third one is polysaccharides. So what is polysaccharides? Poly means multiple. Okay. So say 3 or more. So complex molecules units and or I can say complex molecules built from, so these are complex molecules built from large amount of what? From large number of monosaccharides. So single unit of sugar is built to make a complex unit from a large number of monosaccharides. So example is
fructose,
glycogen. Okay, could be fructose also, yes. So the more complex the sugar is, so it is, it takes time to, it releases the sugars slowly. If you consume lot of monosaccharides, simple sugars, it will quickly digest and it will get into your bloodstream, right? So the sugar will spike up. So when you eat the meal, so you will see a spike of sugar and then a quick dip. If you eat simple sugars, simple sugars are your monosaccharides and disaccharides. Say complex sugar, something which is more complex in nature. If you eat, so what will happen? It will slowly rise. Okay. Let's take the example of jaggery and say processed sugar. So the processed sugar is more simpler in nature, whereas jaggery is more complex in nature, right? So when you eat jaggery, the spike will not be like this. So it will slowly release the sugars and then there is a slow coming down. This is when you eat complex sugars. Okay. See, there are some questions. So example of glycogen. See, glycogen is it is in the form of when the food gets stored into the sugars get stored in our body, it gets stored in the form of glycogen. And some say basically you are looking for some complex sugars. Say when you eat, say, brown rice. Okay. So it is more complex in nature compared to, say, white rice. The sugars which we have in brown rice is more complex in nature compared to white rice. And the sugars which is there in, say, jaggery is more complex in nature compared to the sugars which is there in white sugar. Okay. So this is how you have to see. So somebody who is having issues with the sugar level in their body, the preferred type of sugar is what? Simple sugar or complex sugar? They should
Complex.
they should consume complex. That is polysaccharides, not monosaccharides. Polysaccharides are complex sugars and monosaccharide is simple sugar. Okay. So what is the functions of carbohydrates?
Give the energy to the body.
Very good.
The formation of the cells.
Yes, very good. Yeah. So these include. It's very good. Those who are telling, providing energy, etc. So provide energy and heat. So providing energy and heat. So when monosaccharides are broken down in the presence of oxygen, so it releases heat and chemical energy for metabolic work. Okay. So when monosaccharides preferably, I am writing everything so that it becomes your notes. So preferably in the presence of oxygen. So releases heat and so chemical energy for metabolic work. Yeah. So what is the other work that it does? What is the function, other function of carbohydrate? So there is something called as protein sparing. So what is protein sparing? If the amount of carbohydrates are less in the body, so if your consumption of carbohydrates is less, so what will body do? Because it requires energy, right? So what it will do? It will start breaking the proteins. First, it will start breaking the proteins and it will use protein to generate energy. Okay. So when carbohydrate is less, so it will use the protein to generate energy. So at that time, what will happen? The amount of protein available for the creation of new cells will be less. Okay. So by providing enough carbohydrates, the protein will be spared from getting utilized. That is what is called as protein sparing. Okay, clear? So it is also provision of energy stores. Provision of energy store. So when you consume lot of carbohydrates more than required, so what will the body do? So it will store it in two ways. Okay, the first one, it is stored as glycogen. So this is a short-term energy store. Short-term energy store, and it is in the liver and skeletal muscle. Means the glycogen, it is the carbohydrates, it's stored as glycogen in liver and skeletal muscle, and this is a short-term storage. What is a long-term storage? Stored as fat. So this is long-term storage. And where does it store? In the adipose tissue. Example, say under the skin. So this is where it will store as fat. Okay. So this is about carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is mainly used for generating energy and heat, and it has different types: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides, depending on the complexity of the sugars and if you consume enough amount of carbohydrates, it will spare the protein. It will not use the protein to convert into energy. So sufficient protein is available for creating. The main function of protein is what? To create new cells. We will learn about that later. The next. So, and also the energy storage. It will store the energy, the carbohydrates. If you eat in excess quantity than required, it will be stored. How it will be stored? It will be stored in two forms. It will be stored as glycogen for a short-term storage. It is stored in liver and skeletal muscle. And for long-term storage, it is stored as fat, and it is stored in adipose tissue. Okay, clear? So carbohydrate is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So next we will take protein. So during digestion, the protein is broken down. Yeah. So during digestion, protein is, let's say protein is there, and that is broken. So broken down into what? It is broken down into amino acids. Okay. So the protein is, and this protein is absorbed. It goes into the blood, and then it is this protein. So this amino acid is repurposed to create new type of protein. So new type of protein is created. See, if you have seen the cell, say so many protein is required in so many different forms, different types of hormones, different types of enzymes, so many ways. So, and this amino acids are mainly composed of say this carbohydrate is mainly composed of 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 what? It is mainly composed of carbon plus hydrogen plus oxygen. Okay. So what is the chemical composition of carbohydrates? Mainly it is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay. Now in terms of protein, what is it mainly composed of? So this amino acids is mainly composed of, once again, carbon plus hydrogen plus oxygen plus it has something extra. What is it? It has nitrogen and also it contains some minerals such as iron, copper, zinc, etc. Iodine, sulfur, and phosphates. Okay. So, and once again, the amino acids has two types, essential and non-essential. So amino acids has two types, essential and non-essential. Okay. So we know what is essential type of amino acid. What does it mean?
Which is useful for the body, which is synthesized, which cannot be synthesized from the by the body.
Yes. So it cannot be synthesized by the body and it has to be consumed from outside. Okay. Cannot be synthesized by body and needs to be consumed from outside. Okay. And non-essential, once again, the same, it can be synthesized by body. Okay. So what is the functions of protein? So one is mainly growth and repair of body cells and tissues. Okay. So growth and repair. So if you don't consume proteins, what will happen? The rate of generation of new cells in your body will get affected. Okay. So second, what else does it do? So it synthesizes new proteins. So it will use the protein that you ate, and using that protein, it will create a new type of protein. So synthesis of new proteins. So examples, enzymes, your plasma protein. So in the blood has plasma, right? And in that plasma, you have proteins. So the plasma protein, where will that protein come from? Basically from the protein what you have eaten. Okay, and antibodies, they are also a type of protein, and some hormones. So these are all proteins, but of different nature. Okay. And third, so we had discussed this, as a protein sparing in carbohydrates. So what is protein also used for? It is also used for provision of energy. When will it get used to create energy? When sufficient carbohydrate is not there in the diet. Okay, so these are the functions of the protein. So when it becomes excess, what will happen? So when protein is excess, when you eat too much of protein, what will happen?
It stores.
It stores. When excess protein is consumed, so it is stored in where?
Muscle.
Tissues. Okay. So this is about protein. So protein is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
now we will take up fats.
Sir, I would like to ask that adipose tissues make carbohydrates and protein both are getting stored.
Yes.
Okay.
So you will find one more thing.
So
Which-
isn't excess protein released out of the body through water consumption and urine and all?
Yes. See, a part of it will be sent out through the urine. Okay. And a part of it will get stored. I did not want to complicate it by telling too much. Say nitrogenous amino group. Okay. So it gets detached and no, it is getting excreted through kidney, and the remaining will get stored in the adipose tissue.
Okay, sir.
So I did not want to complicate it, so I just written this. Like, once again, the whole process of teaching this is not to make you an expert in the field of nutrition. No, it is only to give you a basic understanding. Fine. So, and fats, we can also call it as triglyceride. Sorry. Okay. So now, what does it contain? So fat also contains carbon plus hydrogen plus oxygen. But so the carbohydrate also consists of the same three. Fat also consists of the same three. What is the difference? The difference is proportions. Okay. The carbohydrates also has the same ingredients. Fat also has the same ingredients. It's just that the proportion is different between carbohydrate and fat. Okay. So fat, okay, we can see generally it is also called as lipids. So I will write it over here. So lipids can be classified into fats and cholesterol. Okay. And fat can be further classified into saturated fats and unsaturated fats. So what is the difference? Say fats provides calorie. So it is used in the creation of energy, right? So provides caloric energy. Whereas cholesterol does not provide caloric energy. You understand? Say if you eat something which is fat in nature, so it will give you energy at some point of time. But if you eat cholesterol, it won't get converted into energy. And what is saturated and unsaturated? So generally saturated is originates from animal source. Say the meat and other things that we eat. So any fat which is coming from the animal source is type of saturated fat, and it is what? Solid at room temperature. Say if there is any meat, say somebody who is removing the meat from the body of the dead animal. Say there will be a layer of fat attached to it. And that fat is what? It is solid in nature. Even at room temperature, it will be thick. No, it will be solid in nature. Right? So, but whereas the unsaturated fat, it is generally originates from plant source. your vegetable oil, etc. Okay. Say groundnut oil. Say how is the groundnut oil in the room temperature? It is liquid in nature. It is not solid, right? So they are liquid. They are oil and liquid at room temperature. Okay. So what is the work of and cholesterol? So about 20% of the cholesterol is synthesized by the body and 80% comes from the dietary sources. So cholesterol 20% synthesized by body and 80% comes from dietary. And where does this cholesterol come from? Does it come from saturated fats or unsaturated fats? Where does this cholesterol come from?
Saturated.
Saturated.
Comes from this
Fat.
saturated fat. Okay.
Saturated.
Comes from dietary saturated fats. Say the fat which comes from dairy products, is it saturated, unsaturated?
Saturated.
Saturated.
From animal source. Say the protein which is coming from egg, is it saturated or unsaturated?
Saturated.
Saturated. And the protein which is coming, so the fat which is coming from, say, groundnut oil, it is
Unsaturated.
unsaturated. Okay. And is there a need for cholesterol in the body?
Yes, good cholesterol.
Right. So we require cholesterol. So cholesterol is not all bad. Cholesterol is needed for synthesis of steroid hormone. So if there is not sufficient cholesterol, your body will be impacted in the creation of steroid hormone. Okay.
What is steroid hormone?
Say what is a steroid? Steroid is something which makes you enhance your activity. Okay, when steroid is given to you, so your enhancement of the organs, functioning of the organ will increase. So in any situation, if the body wants to enhance the functioning of a particular organ, so it provides steroid hormone. It releases steroid hormone. Say when somebody is in pregnancy, they require special, extra work has to be done. Or you're in flight and fight mode, you require extra functioning to be done. The organs have to function more. So in those kind of situation, these steroid hormones gets released in the body. Okay.
Thank you.
When cholesterol gets mixed with protein, so it gives rise to lipoprotein. Lipoprotein also you can call it as. Okay. Wherever lipo comes, it is like fat. Right? So cholesterol is a type of fat. So, and there is, say you would have in your, when you do lipid profile testing, okay, so there you will see, when you do the lipid profile blood test, you will see LDL and HDL, right? Have you seen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. So we will try to
Low
understand.
density cholesterol and high density protein.
Lipoprotein, yes. So your liver no does lot of processing of proteins. Okay, so you have your liver, and there is, let's say, cell. There is a body cell. Now, when the protein is this protein is moving from lipoprotein, when this lipoprotein is liver to body cell, it is called as LDL, low density okay, or it is also called as bad cholesterol. Okay, the more of LDL, it harms the body. More is harmful to body. And then when the lipoprotein is moving from the body cell to liver, it is called as high density HDL. So high density lipoprotein. So once it goes there, what will the liver do? It will break it down or it will excrete. So once it goes into the liver, HDL, and this is also called as good cholesterol. Okay. So once gone into liver, either broken, breaks down, or excretes. Okay. So if it is more is cardioprotective. It protects the heart. If the LDL is more, it is harmful to the body. If HDL is more, it is helpful to the body. So more is cardioprotective. Okay. So there are two types of protein, say like cholesterol and protein. When they combine together, they create lipoproteins. And if the density of that lipoprotein is less, no, it is not helpful to the body. But if the density of that lipoprotein is high, then it is helpful to the body. Okay, this much it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Okay. So what is the function of the cholesterol? See, if you have studied the cell, say there in the cell you have nucleus, you have say mitochondria, and you have Golgi apparatus, etc., etc. So many things you would have seen, right? So what is this membrane made out of?
Cholesterol.
Huh?
Correct movement of this part.
Lipoprotein.
It is made out of
Lipoprotein.
Okay. So it is made out of fat because fat has that ability to create separation between two layers, right? If you add if you add oil on top of water, so they create a separation barrier. It doesn't get mixed. So to create these plasma, this is called as plasma membrane. So to create these plasma membrane, you require cholesterol. So cell membrane. So, and then what is it required? And to synthesize bile salts. So synthesis of bile salts. Okay. And synthesis of sex hormones. Okay. So, and there is also something called as synthesis of adrenal cortical hormone. Okay. And so it provides viscosity to blood. Okay. So the blood it has some viscosity or some thickness, and that thickness is provided by cholesterol. Okay. It is not watery, it is thick. So now, so what is the functions of fats? So this we discussed about the cholesterol. Now we will discuss functions of fats. So these include the first one. So it is a concentrated source of energy and heat, right? So the difference between carbohydrate and fat, what is it? The carbohydrate is less concentrated, whereas fat is more concentrated. So it is if you eat little bit of fat, it gives more energy compared to carbohydrates. So a concentrated source of chemical energy and heat. Okay. So, and it provides support to some organs. support of some organs. Example, kidneys, eyes, etc. So in vitamins, we will learn. So vitamins are of two types: water soluble and fat soluble. So fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins. So to to have those fat soluble vitamins, if you want to dissolve them, you require fat. So what are those? So absorption, transportation, and storage of what? Fat soluble vitamins. So, and what are the fat soluble vitamins? It is vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. These are the fat soluble vitamins. And see, fat has so many functions. If you see the nerve cell, the nerve cell has a myelin sheath coating, and that myelin sheath is made out of fat, right? So it is a constituent for and of sebum. Okay. Fifth. So, and once again, formation of steroid hormones from cholesterol. It helps. Okay. So, formation of steroid hormones from cholesterol. So, once again, this is a energy source. So it is a energy storage. Okay. So energy storage in adipose tissue under the skin and in the mesentery. Mesentery is your abdomen area. Okay. So if there is more fat, it provides insulation, right? If it is too cold, the person doesn't feel too much of cold. If it is too warm, the person will not feel too hot. So it provides insulation. Okay, so whatever heat which is there inside the body, it doesn't allow the heat to easily escape outside. So provides insulation. We can also say so it reduces heat loss through the skin. Okay. So, and also fat provides a satiating value. Means, it keeps your, it doesn't allow you to feel hungry very quickly. So a satiating value will be there. So if once you kind of say pass your stool, no, immediately you don't feel the hunger because the fat is holding that. No, it is providing a satiating value. Okay, so these are all the different functions of fat. Okay, so you all are clear with fat? Fat
Yes,
is
sir.
clear.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fine, very good. So then we will get into vitamins. So vitamins are, it is chemicals required in tiny small quantities for the metabolic functions. So vitamins are chemicals required in tiny quantities for essential metabolic process. So since many of them cannot be created by the body, so it is an important, no, it should be an important part of our diet. So majority cannot be synthesized in the body, so it has to be consumed in the diet. So if we are not consuming, what will happen? The deficiencies will get created. So in vitamins, there are two types of vitamins. So it is fat soluble and water soluble. So what are the fat soluble ones? It is vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. So you require bile is needed for absorption. Okay. And we have water soluble. What are water soluble? It is B complex. So that is B1, B2, etc. And vitamin C. They are water soluble. Okay. So this is about vitamins. So everybody is clear with vitamins. These are required in tiny quantities and majority of it cannot be created in the body. So you have to take it externally through your diet. Clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now let's discuss the last one, which is minerals and trace element. So once again, these are also required in small quantities. Okay, so minerals are inorganic substances. So needed in small amounts for normal cellular function. So some are required in larger quantity, some are required in comparison, it is required in lesser quantity. What are the examples? Examples are which are required more in quantity. Example for required more in quantity. It is, say, calcium. So your bone is full of calcium, no? Like it has so much of calcium, so it is required in large quantity. I will say some large, some small. More quantity, it is calcium, phosphate, sodium, and potassium. Okay, so these are required in larger quantities. Some of them which are required in tiny quantities. Those required in tiny quantities are called trace elements. Okay, and example for them are iron, so iodine, zinc, copper, cobalt, selenium, and fluorides. Okay. Minerals are inorganic substances, and some of them are needed in large quantity and some of them are needed in smaller quantities. And those which are required in large quantities are like calcium, phosphate, sodium, potassium, etc. And some which are required in tiny quantities, small quantities, is called as trace elements. Okay, your iron, zinc, copper, etc. are the trace elements. Okay, so this completes the chapter of nutrition. Okay, so everybody is okay with this part?
Yes, sir.
Minerals
Yes,
and
sir.
trace elements. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
fine. And so I hope you all enjoyed today's class.